Hey, welcome to the Pharmacy Residency Podcast, member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. Today I'm going to talk about the letter of intent as September approaches and we kind of get in high gear towards residency. So September, October, you're kind of getting this together, making sure that you're filling in any gaps, and then November, December, you're really getting into it, and that's when I get really busy especially. So residency.teachable.com if you want my one-on-one help. I'm Tony Guerra, and I am your host. So let's start with what people do wrong, and I understand this. The very first thing that comes up if you put in pharmacy residency letter of intent is this PDF from the University of California in San Francisco. And on the third page of this PDF, you're going to see an example letter, and I'm going to show you how other people have just copied it, and it really causes a number of problems. So the first issue with the letter is that there is no header. And you, as I mentioned in the last episode, you have to have a header to let them know where you're from, because where you're from matters more than anything else, especially your school. So are you a local school? Okay, great. I'm from that school too, or whatever it is. But remember, the resident is more likely going to be reading it first than the RPD. So it's these expressions that show that you are unable to be innovative, you have not done anything new, and that you are in many ways plagiarizing this. Now, will they throw out your application because of this? Maybe if they're in a bad mood, yes. But maybe they'll just tolerate it and they'll just skip your first paragraph altogether, getting rid of a fifth or a quarter of the work that you did, making it worthless, because they're going to say, okay, great. They've copied from the UCSF letter of intent. They have used the expression, I am writing to express my interest in, and then filled in the site. I have had the pleasure to meet with your current residents at ASHP Mid-Year Clinical, or they'll mention the maybe webinar that the site had, and they'll name drop this person and this person, and then they'll say your program offers many experiences that I look for in a PGY1, and I'll show you why that's a problem in a minute, including a wide variety of rotations, teaching, research, community outreach, and a challenging yet supportive environment. Those four words are in many, many letters of intent, despite people writing them on their own quotation fingers, to refine my skills as a clinical pharmacist. And I may sound like I'm being glass half empty here, but it's just something that when you're a resident and you're getting these letters, and let's say you are responsible for 50 letters, and you see the exact same first paragraph from different people, it's very frustrating, because you're trying to get to know them, and all they've done is copy from this, and they can't get to know you at all if you do that. The other thing is that it is not a thesis. When you write any document, you need to put a thesis at the beginning of it, and a thesis is what you're going to do. So I'm writing to express my interest. Okay, you're interested in the University of Oregon hospitals. Obviously, it's not true. I have had the pleasure to meet. Okay, you met them. Your program offers many experiences. Okay, that's pretty vague. And a challenging yet supportive environment. Okay, so what you've done, you have not in any way indicated how you match to that program. You've simply said you are applying in about 85 words. And if you're an exhausted resident reading these, you're like, oh, come on, right? So you go into the second paragraph, and I'm not going to go past this first couple sentences. I firmly believe that I have the skills and qualities to be a successful resident. Okay, you're confident. A balance of pharmacy, clinical practice, service leadership, teaching, and research. Okay, this is actually what you wanted to say in the first paragraph, that you have these skills. Then they kind of blow it by saying, as you can see from my CV. All right, you don't need to say that, right? Just say, my experience includes a solid background in hospital pharmacy at UC Medical Center. And now we have the evidence. So the thesis is buried in the first sentence of the second paragraph, and that should be in the first paragraph. Okay? All right, so I'm not going to go into this, but I'm just saying don't start your letter of intent with that, and I'm going to show you why right now. Okay, here is another example. It is from ICHPnet.org, and it is Rosie Glidazone, a potential pharmacy resident who wastes a ton of space by using this as an address, does not space between the date, so there should be a space between the date, and says, I am writing this letter to express my sincere interest in the residency program at the University of Illinois Chicago Medical Center. I believe your residency is a perfect match to my interests. Again, this is very you. This is about, you keep telling them how it's good for you, not good for them, which is what's more important. I've worked very hard during pharmacy school. I have a 3.9 GPA and I'm a member of Rho Chi. Okay, it's on your CV. I could have got that anywhere. I'm a member of pharmacy organizations like ICHP and IPHA. I consider myself well-rounded. I enjoy bike riding and reading. Okay, again, I could have got this all from your CV. Now I know you like to bike and read. Nothing wrong with putting that stuff in there, but I'm just saying that you haven't really put anything. Okay, during my 4th year, I chose clinical interests that matched my interests. Really? You picked APPEs that you wanted to do? Okay. And prepared me well for residency. Good, but we need to make sure that this did prepare you well for residency. So now we are in the middle of the third paragraph, the first cogent sentence that is actually going to help you. And let's make this a lot bigger so you guys can see it. Currently, I'm on an infectious disease rotation. I like it very much. Really? You are a 4th year pharmacy student. Okay? You have to increase your level, okay? Increase your level. I may consider going into the specialty pharmacy practice. I've also done rotations in internal medicine, community pharmacy. Spelled wrong. It's over. Your residency journey with whoever you sent this to is over if you spelled pharmacy wrong. And ambulatory care. I'm scheduled to do rotations in critical care and psychiatry. There's nothing wrong with telling them what you're going to do. It's in the CV, I get that. And you want to put this in as your evidence, okay? But you also have to tell them that you know their one. So if you're talking about the VA, the packed rotations, those types of things. I'm very hardworking. I think I'll make a good resident. I attached my application, my recommendation, transcript, and questionnaire. If you have questions, contact me. There's nothing more there. So I have just wasted a couple of minutes of my time reading your letter, which did not in any way differentiate you from other candidates. And you've kind of left all this white space saying, I just did this, got it over with, and that's a terrible letter. All right. You go to ASHP, you're going to get this from Calvin Ice. It explains a lot about the letter. And you're going to get the setup. And there's some talk about the 1-inch margins and font size 11 or 12. This is good advice. You should not make your margins artificially small or your font size 10. 11 is about as small as you want to go. Okay. When you do this and you read this, it actually doesn't work out to do it this way. What about the residency program interests me? Okay. What you want to work on is number 2, which is how is this residency program a good fit for me? And number 3, how am I a good fit for the residency program? That's what you want to put in your thesis. Okay, and I'll go over that in a minute. ACCP, their letter of intent example. So the person at ACCP that made this, and maybe they just got it from a student, copied the UCSF letter. Okay? Or the UCSF letter copied ACCP. I don't know who came first. I'm writing this letter to express my sincere interest. Oh my gosh. I had the pleasure to speak to your past residents. I've been very impressed with the opportunities. Oh my gosh, Duke University has everything that I'm looking for in a PG. Why one? You're again going the wrong way. Okay, you want to talk about how you can help them rather than how they can help you. All right, here we are. Next one. Professional pearls for writing a pharmacy residency letter of intent. I think that's Majid, Tanis, Laura Ching, PharmD. Talk about the difference between a letter of intent and a cover letter. Okay, but it just refers you to a book. It doesn't really give you any examples. So what you really need is a way to understand what it is. Okay. ID stewardship does a good job. It's Tim Gauthier, PharmD. You do want to write it in chronological order if you can. There's a couple different ways to do it. But what you're saying, when you do it in chronological order, you're talking about, I'm a pharmacy student, I want to be a resident, I want to be a PGY2, I want to go to work. But don't necessarily put your APPEs in chronological order because they may not make sense. Like if you've got an elective first, what they want to know is about your clinical work. So be careful with that. Key terms to describe your character before writing. So again, this is a iterative process. You keep doing it over and over again until you get it right. Try to be genuine. Okay. So do not lie. Hopefully it's relatively straightforward, but if you don't feel like you've done enough, that may seem like something you might want to do. I would recommend against it. Be your own cheerleader. Okay. So sometimes you guys are being too humble. So you need to master the humble brag, which is saying nice things about yourself without sounding like a jerk. And you can do it if you write it correctly. Okay, so just be careful. And then show your letter to a few people. Yep, you will want to show it to other people. That's fine. But make sure you have someone that has experience writing beyond grammar and those types of things, but actually is good at this kind of thing. All right, letter of intent workshop. This next one. It is with great enthusiasm that I am submitting this letter of intent to you. It was a pleasure to speak with you and your current residence. After carefully reviewing the information I've gathered, I'm thrilled to pursue a PGY1. Okay, well, you've just copied the same letter that we've seen over and over again. Here's another one. Sample pharmacy letter of intent. Thank you for taking the time to discuss the program. And so, as you might remember, I am currently a fourth-year doctor of pharmacy student. You should have student in there at the Texas Tech School of Pharmacy. My aim is to become a practicing clinical pharmacist with a focus on endocrinology. It'll be an excellent opportunity to get hands-on experience. Okay. They know why you're doing a residency. You just need to tell them why you're doing a residency there. Okay. So you would mention, if endocrinology is what you care about, that St. David's North Austin Medical Center should be very good at endocrinology, providing you with probably 2 core rotations or core rotation in an elective, something like that. But again, we lack evidence. Kind of using this up here where you're wasting all of this space and you don't put from and to, and you need to have a date in here. So we know it's from the top person, we know the date, and we know it's to the next person. So you don't need to do that. This over-the-top stuff is not good. My studies at TTUHSC School of Pharmacy have given me a profound background in pharmaceutical theory and related fields. Your background is not profound. Don't go over the top like that. You want to be very humble as you're kind of going through this. So again, don't recommend that one. A couple of videos. So although it's a nice video about hearing how to do this, and she talked about real letters that she used, I'm submitting this letter to express my interest in your PGY1 pharmacy practice residency at. I'm submitting this letter to express my interest again. What she's trying to do is trying to teach you how to move from one to the other, and that's a good thing. But again, you are using somebody else's words, and you don't want to do that. You want to make them your own words. And so when I talk about a template, we're going to look at how to do that. And then here's another video, introduction of the LOI. Begin with, I'm writing this letter to express my interest for the PGY1 pharmacy residency program. Again, just do not use that as your first sentence. And I know you say, well, what do I use instead? I'll show you in a minute. But all you've done is say that your interest is not sincere because you have copied off of somebody else. Okay? How did you learn about this program? Spoke with past residents. It's okay to do that if there's some genuine connection. If you go to ASHP and you actually go see the resident's poster and you've actually talked to them for 5 or 10 minutes about their poster, that would be something. But going to the residency showcase where they're showcasing themselves, that is not the best. And then end with the general statement on why you chose that site. I believe this site provides the rotations, learning experiences, and environment needed to accomplish my goals. You do not want a general statement on why you chose the site. You want a thesis statement that outlines what you're going to say in the letter, that's going to be followed by evidence, just like with treating a patient, that's going to support your application for it. So what I might do is stop here, because what I've really done in the last 16 and a half minutes is gone over what you don't want to do in a letter of intent. And so my next video will be on what you do want to do with a letter of intent. That way you can just keep listening to that one over and over again. But again, to make very clear what you should and shouldn't be doing, you should be writing a letter. It's okay to use a template, but you must adjust that template so it does not look like all of the other letters. The biggest problem you're going to have as a residency applicant is being like the other applicants and being forgotten. If you are like the other applicants and forgotten, you're not going to make it. If, however, you do something unique, all is well. So I'll stop here. Again, if you need my help, residency.teachable.com, and you can contact me at tonythepharmacist@gmail.com.